I'm gonna get you started on playing blues guitar, both rhythm and lead, in the simplest way possible. It's gonna involve just one chord shape and one scale shape. Okay, so let's say you're a big fan of the blues and blues guitar and you wanna get started playing it. Or maybe you can already play some blues guitar, but you play it the same way every time and it's getting kind of boring. Well, not only is what I'm gonna show you super simple, but it's gonna make you sound sophisticated too, and it'll help you break out of that typical, open position cowboy blues box. That old thing. Okay, well, we're gonna start with the rhythm part, with the chord shape. So what we're gonna be doing, instead of that driving blues rhythm, the bonka, 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 bonk kind of thing, what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna play an A9 chord, and we're gonna play a very specific shape of it. It happens to look just like this. So let me show you how to actually form that shape. Now, the top part of it here is just like if you're making a D chord shape, right? When you're playing a D chord in this position, we're actually gonna be bringing it over here, that same exact configuration of your fingers. Starting with the first finger, it's gonna be on the 4th fret of the A string. Your third finger is gonna be on the 5th fret of the D string, and your second finger is gonna be on the 4th fret of the G string. And then finally, we can't leave out the 4th finger. It's gonna be playing the 5th fret on the B string. There we go. And these 4 notes make up an A9 chord. So remember, it's just like the D chord shape with the pinky thrown in, right? Now you may be wondering, hey, where's the A? Isn't there supposed to be like a low root note that's supposed to signal that that's an A9 chord? Well, you would be right. The A9 chord root note would be right here. But what we're actually doing is with these 4 notes, we're implying an A9 chord because they have all the necessary conditions to make up that chord. So even though we're not hearing an A here, it's still registering as an A9 chord. So you don't have to really know why, just know that it works. So since this is an A9 chord, we're gonna be playing in the key of A for this example, right? So let's say you have a guitar buddy and they're holding down this part. Right? So they're covering that. You don't need to double up with them on that. Instead, now that you know this chord, what you're gonna do are what are called chord stabs. So you're just gonna be playing the chords very quickly like this. And you wanna think of it this way. If you imagine, a blues combo, or like a Chicago blues especially, there's lots of horns involved, right? So the horn section would be playing something like this. Bop, bop, right? Bop, bop. They'll be doing that while the rhythm section, and maybe the guitar player as well, are holding down that open rhythm here. And you can add that on top. And not only does it sound sophisticated, but it fills in the space just right. And of course, in a 12-bar blues, we gotta have a 1, 4, 5 in the progression, right? So we just covered the 1 chord in A, which would be the A9 chord. And since we're only sticking to one scale shape, when we move to the 4 chord, which is gonna be D9, we're gonna take the same exact shape right here, right? So instead of fretting the notes, you're gonna just relax your fingers, holding that shape, and you're gonna slide it on up to right here. So starting on the 9th fret of the A string, 10th fret on the D string, 9th fret on G, 10th fret on B. There's our D9 chord. Literally all we did was just paratroop that chord shape to a different spot on the fretboard, right? And if it helps, one thing that I like to do as a reference point is, remember we were talking about the root notes, right? So in A9, in this case, the root note A would be right here on the 5th fret. So it'd be on the same fret that my 3rd and 4th fingers are on, right? So if I'm trying to find the D9 chord, or trying to remind myself where it's at, if you happen to know the names of the notes along the low E string, which we have so many lessons covering that, you'll know that here on the 10th fret, the same fret that your 3rd and 4th finger are on, that is a D note. So we are playing a D9 chord. And there's our 4 chord. So if we were to do that same kind of chord stabby thing, right? The horn section deal. And then we're gonna move to the 4 chord. Same deal, just keeping that just bop, bop, just keeping those chord stabs going and keeping that same shape the whole time. And of course, we can't forget the 5 chord, which is gonna be E9. So what we're gonna do is take the same shape right here from D9. If we wanna find it, we go up 2 frets, 1, 2. With that same shape, baby. And there's our E9 chord. Now remember, if we wanna reference the root note, it's going to be on the same fret that our 3rd and 4th finger are on. So that being the 12th fret, what does that tell you? 12th fret on the low E string is an E note, right? So that's just to make, give you a little bit of a guidepost if you kind of get lost. Because I know, especially going from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, it's kind of a jump, right? We're going how many frets? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 frets, and then 2 more above that. So I understand it's going to be a little bit, it might be a lot to think about in the beginning, but of course, the more you do it, the easier it's going to get, and the more you're going to be able to just automatically find that spot, like laser focused, right? But just remember, and of course the fret markers will help. So if your guitar has fret markers, we have an inlay of fret marker here on the 5th fret. We have one on the 12th fret, right? We don't have one on the 10th fret, but we got 2 out of 3 there. So it should really help us narrow things down. Now, before we get into the lead stuff, I'm going to throw on a loop where I'm playing right here, the open position 12-bar blues in A. And over it, I'm going to be playing those 9 chords and showing you how it sounds in context. And away we go. Just keeping that shape. Adds a lot of space, huh? I'm gonna take some liberties. So I had a little bit of fun in that second go around. I was going off the rails a bit, but I was just trying to show you how you can take that same shape and do some fun kind of outside stuff where you're playing that chord shape like a fret below or a fret above and then just landing on the right chord at the right time, doing that. So just literally starting a fret below and then bringing it up. You can even go a fret above and bring it down, and I was just kind of messing around with that in different orders, And it's like this cool thing where it creates some tension, but just momentary. And then when you land on the right appropriate chord at the appropriate time, it's a nice feeling of resolution in that moment. But you can have fun with it where you can just like go a little bit outside like that. So I recommend trying that out. It's a lot of fun and you may be impressed with yourself by how sophisticated it sounds. Hey, by the way, if you're getting value out of this lesson, do me a favor, hit that like button and consider subscribing to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. We got a whole lot more lessons coming your way, and I'd love for you to be the first to know when they come out. Thanks in advance, and let's get back to it. All right, now let's get into the lead stuff. So we're gonna be focusing on a singular scale shape or box, you can think of it. It's not like a scale pattern per se, it's more of a fragment of a scale, but it's actually gonna help us find some certain chord tones. So notes within a chord that will make these notes really pop out and accentuate the chord that we're playing. So starting with the very first one, it's real simple. It's this right here. Just those, what is that? 5 notes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So starting on the 6th fret of the G string, and then we're doing 5, 7 on B and high E. Now you may be thinking, this looks very different than what you may be used to seeing like minor pentatonic, right? Right? You want to get that kind of sound, that particular color of sound, that's where this little box is going to be really helpful. So we're actually accentuating, like I said, chord tones. We have a major third of the chord, which is actually contained within the A9 chord, starts on the 3rd. So you could say this is like an inversion because it's starting on the 3rd, right? So we have that 3rd, we have a 5th, right here we have a 6th, we have a root, and a 9th. But especially that 3rd and 5th, and root of course, we have a triad, right? Notes that make up a triad. So those are chord tones right there. So playing those in tandem with the A9 chord. We can play them in all kinds of different ways, but if you really accentuate those, land on those chord tones within that box, I mean, you'll be golden, So it's like, it works. You can just mess around, just like vamp that one chord, throw the little chord stab in there just to establish the harmonic context, and then just sort of play those notes, and you'll find, especially those chord tones, they just sound really good. So you'll be able to pepper in little licks while you're playing those chord stabs, which is another reason why playing them like that, like staccato, just like bop, bop, like that, leaves all this extra space to start throwing in little lead lines. And of course, you may recognize this very, very famous blues guitar lick, right? You've heard that a million times, I'm sure. And that's all contained within that box. So if you were to slide up to the 6th fret there on the G string, you can slide from the 5th fret to it, sounds nice. And then you have 5, 7 on the B string, and then you stop right there on the 5th fret of the high E string. It just works. You can play it a million times and it'll work every time. Since we're keeping the theme of using only one scale shape or box, right, we're gonna now move this to the 4 and the 5 chords. So we do the same thing we did with the chord shape, where we just move this whole finger pattern up 5 frets, I think, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's what we established. There we go. So you'd be right here, if we're over the 4 chord, D9, right? You're gonna start with the 11th fret of the G string, and then you have 10, 12 on B and high E. Same shape. With that, D9 chord nice and close by. You can do the same thing we just did over the 1 chord. It works there too. And if you even were still playing in the key of A, right? Even though we're moving to another chord and we're technically playing within the key of that chord, the 4 chord, it still works. As long as we're hanging on to that 4 chord, we got notes that will work, and then we can bring it on back home to the 1 chord and then just like resolve it right there. And same deal with the 5 chord, right? So we'll take this same shape, bring it up 2 frets, 1, 2. So we have 13 on the G string, 12, 14 on B and high E. And also chord tones, right? You got your 3rd, 5th root, 3rd, 5th root, 3rd, 5th root. So you got all the necessary components to playing a nice, sophisticated little blues rhythm and lead sort of guitar loop, you could say. But you'll be sounding a lot more professional, and you'll have a great safety net of notes to fall back on. Now I'm gonna throw on that loop again, and I'm gonna show you how mixing chord stabs with little licks in that scale box can actually make some pretty cool sounds. I'm gonna kick it off with that one lick too. Okay, here we go. You could just do this the whole time if you wanted to. It'll work, All right, I'm gonna do a little bit more. Here we go. I was having some fun there, it was purely improvised, so you got it warts and all, but I wanted to show you how just exploring different, pockets of time within the 12-bar progression, how frequently you play the chords or how much space you can put in between. There's a whole lot of content in there just by using that one chord shape and that one scale shape. So now you're ready to roll with some great sounding blues guitar for your next jam, whether it's with a buddy or at a local jam. And there's still so much left to uncover when it comes to blues guitar, and it all involves really simple, straightforward chord and scale shapes. So you can start picturing yourself playing some red, hot blues guitar all over that dang fretboard in any key with what I'm about to give you. This right here is my free gift to you. It's a free blues guitar solo heat map. It's going to show you where you can find all of those important pinpointed spots on the guitar so you can play some rippin' blues guitar solos. So click this link to grab your free copy or check the link in the description box. What I love about blues guitar is that there's a wide spectrum from being simple and being complex, and anywhere from those extremes and in between, it's just beautiful and sounds awesome.